You know, when you look at one of those classic optical illusions, like that famous pen and ink drawing where it's either an elegant young woman looking away or um, an older woman with a large nose looking down.
Oh, yeah, the classic ambiguous image.
Right. You stare at the lines and your brain just sort of decides what reality you're seeing in that exact moment.
Mm-hmm.
And the wild part is, once your brain locks onto the young woman, you completely lose the older one. Like you literally cannot unsee the young woman.
Yeah, even though the ink on the paper hasn't changed at all, I mean, the physical data is completely identical.
Exactly. But your entire reality of what you are looking at has shifted.
It is a perfect demonstration of how our perception actively constructs our reality. You know, the external world provides the raw data, but the internal mind, your mind assigns the meaning.
Right.
You aren't just passively receiving information from the world, you are uh, actively building the world inside your head.
Exactly. And that concept, the idea that our attention constructs our reality, is exactly what we are exploring with you today.
Yeah, welcome to this deep dive.
We are taking a really fascinating look into a philosophy that suggests the things we choose to focus on might literally, like fundamentally shape the universe we inhabit.
It's a heavy topic, but it's incredibly interesting.
It really is. So our source material today is a spiritual and philosophical text. It was written by an author named Zhifeng on May 22, 2010, and it carries a very commanding title. It's called Pursue Sincerity, Kindness, and Beauty, and Shy Away from Falsity, Evil, and Ugliness.
It definitely gets right to the point.
It does. So our mission today is to explore this author's radical blueprint for curating human consciousness. We want to understand how this incredibly strict mental diet is supposed to lead followers to an ultimate utopian reality.
And it really is a blueprint. I mean, Shufeng isn't just offering vague spiritual platitudes here.
No, not at all.
He is laying out a highly specific, very rigorous framework for rewiring how a human being interacts with the physical and social world. And the ultimate goal of all this rewiring is to reach what he calls the Celestial Island continent.
The Celestial Island continent. Okay, let's unpack this. Because before Swefeng tells us how we are actually supposed to live our daily lives, he sets the stage by defining the fundamental nature of the universe itself.
Yeah, he has to build the foundation first.
Right, and he anchors this entirely in the ancient theory of Taiji.
Yes. The foundational premise here is that the created universe carries the yin at its back and the yang in front. And Shufeng builds on this, to assert that opposites are inextricably united across all of existence.
Like permanently linked.
Exactly. Yeah. Sincerity always coexists with falsity. Kindness coexists with evil. Beauty is always bound to ugliness.
Life to death.
Right. Disaster to blessing. This isn't just a high-level cosmic theory for him. He views this as the fundamental law of the universe.
It's basically the ultimate package deal.
Precisely. The philosophy argues that there are absolutely no absolutes in our existence, only relatives. And Shuifeng explicitly applies this relativity to everything you encounter. I mean, it applies to human society as a whole, to every physical object you touch.
And to every single person you interact with, right?
Yes. Every phenomenon, every individual contains its own opposite.
I like to think of this sort of like a coin. You literally cannot have a heads without a tails. The very definition of a two-sided coin demands both faces.
That's a great way to look at it.
Like if you take a laser and try to slice the tail side off, you don't get a one-sided coin. You just get a thinner coin that still has a heads and a tails. It's an inseparable duality.
Right. It's baked into the structure of the thing itself.
But this is where I have to push back a little bit on the philosophy. Because if the universe is fundamentally, permanently a mix of good and evil, and every single person you meet contains both sincerity and falsity, doesn't that breed a kind of philosophical apathy?
How do you mean?
Well, if we are told to accept that ugliness is permanently baked into the universe, aren't we just supposed to throw our hands up and, I don't know, passively accept the bad things we see?
Well, what's fascinating here is that Shuifeng arrives at the exact opposite conclusion.
Really?
Yeah. You might assume that recognizing the permanence of evil would make someone complacent or even nihilistic, but the text demands a hyperactive, almost aggressively deliberate focus on the good.
Oh, interesting.
For Shuifeng, the presence of both darkness and light isn't an excuse to sit back and do nothing. It's the exact mechanism that requires you to make a choice.
I see.
Because the universe offers both frequencies simultaneously, you are forced to tune your own receiver.
Right, because if both are always present, the only variable left in the equation is you. The environment isn't going to change, so the observer has to.
Exactly. Since good and evil coexist everywhere, your ultimate destination, whether you experience what the text calls heaven or hell, depends entirely on what you consciously choose to focus on.
Hmm.
It is a philosophy of extreme personal agency disguised as a sort of cosmic observation.
And the imagery used to describe this is really striking. Shuofeng describes people who are heading for heaven as those who consciously chase the sun and escape the darkness.
Chasing the sun, it's very evocative.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
It means that when these individuals look at the universe or nature or human society, they don't deny that the darkness exists,
Right. They know it's there.
but they actively choose to only see the sincerity, the kindness, the beauty, and the love. They deliberately ignore the falsity and the hypocrisy.
Yeah, it is a deliberate cognitive filter, and it relies heavily on a variation of the law of attraction.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, the author argues that a person's consciousness of soul dictates the reality they perceive and ultimately inhabit. There is a very specific line in the material that sums this up beautifully.
What does it say?
It says, "A person with an ugly soul can only see an ugly world, and a person with a beautiful soul can see a beautiful world."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The external world is merely a mirror, reflecting the internal state of the observer's attention.
So what does this all mean? When I read that concept, it instantly reminded me of an internal algorithm.
Oh, like on social media.
Exactly. Think about how a social media feed works. When you first create an account, the feed is just a mix of everything. It's neutral.
Right.
But if you stop scrolling to look at videos of people arguing, or you engage with like angry content, the algorithm takes notes. It says, they want conflict.
And suddenly your entire feed is overflowing with anger and ugliness.
Yes. The internet itself hasn't changed. There are still, millions of cat videos and cooking tutorials out there, but your personal reality of the internet has become entirely hostile.
That is a perfect analogy.
And this philosophy suggests your brain does the exact same thing with the physical world. It serves you the reality you habitually choose to focus on.
It functions exactly like an algorithm, yes, but with one critical distinction. A social media algorithm is built by a corporation to extract your attention passively. Swiffing is arguing that you must become the ruthless engineer of your own internal algorithm. You do this to liberate your attention.
You can't just be a passive consumer of reality.
Exactly. If you want to change your feed, which in this case is your life experience, you have to aggressively change your viewing habits. You have to train your consciousness. And to put this intense cognitive training into practice, Swiffeng lays out an incredibly strict set of mandates for his followers.
Right. And these followers are referred to throughout the material as Chanyuan celestials.
Yes, Chanyuan celestial.
To become one, to reach this elevated state, you have to follow a lifestyle that is, frankly, intense. Instead of just listing out a bunch of rules, let's at the underlying concepts here, starting with a massive audit of your social life.
The social audit is intense.
It really is. The text mandates that followers actively search for the bright side of society and completely ignore the dark side. I think it's beyond just, having a positive attitude.
Right.
It requires a severe pruning of who you allow in your life.
Sweeping curation. Sweeping instructs followers to keep their distance from anyone who likes grumbling, anyone who spreads gossip, and anyone who is dispirited, arrogant, or selfish.
Wow. That's a lot of people to cut out.
And it pushes even further. It requires isolation from people who are sorrowful, pessimistic, or full of negative emotions.
Just completely isolate from them.
Yes. The logic here is deeply tied to emotional contagion. If your goal is to chase the sun and maintain a perfectly orderly consciousness, allowing a pessimistic or chaotic person into your orbit introduces a discordant frequency.
It ruins the algorithm.
Exactly. You are instructed to only associate with people who are youthful, humble, optimistic, and closest to what the text calls the greatest creator.
It really emphasizes communicating more with nature, too, and avoiding people in the secular world who are greedy or deceitful. But, think about the psychological toll of that for a second. It is incredibly difficult to just drop a friend because they are going through a period of sorrow or pessimism.
Oh, absolutely.
We are socialized to support people through their darkness. But this framework insists that engaging with their darkness actually threatens your own spiritual trajectory.
It is a radical detachment from secular norms. The philosophy basically views that kind of secular empathy as an anchor. an anchor that will drag you down into the yin side of the universe.
Right.
And this ruthless curation doesn't stop with physical relationships. Once Su Feng asks followers to prune their social circles, he immediately targets their mental diet, the media they consume.
And the media diet is just as strict. Followers are told to surround themselves with beautiful words and soothing, melodious music, and to avoid noises.
Right.
You must watch and read media that exclusively exhibits love and honesty. You are strictly forbidden from looking at media showing murder, violence, or the ugly side of human nature.
And the mechanism behind this ban is crucial to understand. Su Feng explicitly forbids probing into things that are grotesque, quaint, absurd, or anything unnatural and disorderly.
Why is that?
Because visual and auditory chaos creates spiritual chaos. If you are feeding your mind grotesque imagery, you are introducing entropy into your consciousness. The goal is to guide your consciousness toward absolute simplicity, order, and harmony. You are literally starving the mind of chaos so that it only has the raw materials to build a reality out of peace.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Looking at this social audit and this media diet together, this isn't just a self-help book telling you to look on the bright side of life.
No, not at all.
It is a literal mandate to completely quarantine your mind from the yin side of the universe we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
It requires you to actively suppress your awareness of worldly suffering. And it replaces that awareness with a very specific, mandated focus on utopian realms.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the reason for this total quarantine becomes clear.
Wow.
Followers are instructed to repeatedly read Shui Feng's accounts of specific spiritual destinations. He names them as the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, and the ultimate destination, the celestial island continent of the Elysium world.
Right, and these aren't just vague concepts of heaven. These are highly specific utopian spiritual realms envisioned by Shui Feng.
Very specific.
Like, the celestial island continent is described as a paradise of pure order, joy, and freedom, completely detached from the suffering of the human world.
Exactly. And by repeatedly reading about these realms, followers are building a mental anchor. They are explicitly told to pay less attention to the unfortunate state of the human world, the animal world, and what he refers to as hell.
Just ignore it all.
Right. The philosophy posits that an orderly consciousness literally creates an orderly world. The internal state manifests the external reality. Therefore, replacing your awareness of current earthly suffering with a fixed gaze on a promised utopian future is viewed as a completely necessary mechanism for spiritual ascension.
So what happens when you actually achieve this? When you follow these guidelines perfectly, curate your friends, filter your media, and completely isolate your mind from the falsity and evil of the human world.
Wow.
The framework leads to a place of absolute radical acceptance of the universe as it is, which results in a complete detachment from any kind of worldly ambition.
Yes. The culmination of this immense internal effort is found near the end of the text, where Shui Feng makes a truly staggering claim.
What does he say?
The text states, "There is nothing wrong with the world. We are the ones that are at fault."
There is nothing wrong with the world. That is a massive, incredibly provocative statement to make to a listener.
It really is.
Especially when you look at the news today or, look at the historical timeline of human suffering. To look at all of that and say there is nothing wrong with the world.
It completely flips the script on how modern society views external issues. The underlying logic here is that even if ugliness, wickedness, and profound injustice prevail in society, that is simply the Taiji principle at work.
Just the yin and the yang balancing out.
Exactly. The universe is just doing what the universe does. Therefore, your job is not to intervene in the universe's mechanics. Your job is simply to keep a clean soul.
Right.
Shui Feng writes, if you have an evil eye, everything around will be evil. If you have a heart of Buddha, you can see Buddha everywhere.
So no matter how much lying, cheating, or systemic failure is happening around you, you are instructed to just focus on your own sincerity. The followers, the Chanyuan Celestials, they are told not to complain. They're told not to expose the dark side of society, not to find fault with systems or people.
Right, none of that.
They are guided to live an ordinary, quiet life with absolutely no ambition for fame, position, or power. They simply pursue joy and freedom in their own sphere.
Yes.
Their singular purpose is to leave the friction of the human world behind and align their frequency with the celestial island continent.
It is an absolute shedding of secular responsibility.
It makes me think of walking through a chaotic, loud, polluted city center and deciding to put on a pair of the highest-end, most expensive noise-canceling headphones you can find while wearing rose-tinted glasses.
Oh, that's exactly it.
You aren't stopping the traffic. You aren't cleaning the pollution out of the air. You aren't helping the people stranded on the sidewalk. You are just choosing to insulate your own sensory experience from the reality of the street.
Right.
And I have to say, for anyone who is driven to be an activist, or anyone who feels a deep ethical need to fix the injustices of the world, this philosophy is going to feel incredibly jarring.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
It essentially claims that trying to fix the external world is a fool's errand. Because the world isn't broken, only your perception of it is.
This raises an important question, perhaps the most profound tension hidden within this entire deep dive.
Okay, let's hear it.
What is the true nature of human responsibility? According to almost every modern, secular, and progressive viewpoint, our responsibility is external. We must act upon society to reduce suffering and make it better for everyone.
Right. That's how most of us are raised to think.
But according to Sweffing's framework, your responsibility isn't to fix the external society at all. Your supreme and only responsibility is to perfect your internal lens.
Wow.
If the universe fundamentally requires both good and evil to exist in perfect balance, then trying to eradicate evil from human society is literally fighting against the unbreakable law of the universe. It's a battle you can never win.
Because it's a fixed system.
Exactly. The only battle you can actually win is the battle for your own attention.
The battle for your own attention. That brings us completely full circle to where we started.
It does.
So, to synthesize this journey for you today, we've explored a deeply fascinating, radical framework where the universe isn't a battleground of good trying to defeat evil. It's a neutral, permanent, inseparable mix of yin and yang. And within that relative mix, your ultimate reality, whether you find yourself trapped in a living hell of daily frustration or ascending toward the absolute peace of the celestial island continent, is entirely dependent on your ruthless curation of your own consciousness.
He really is.
It relies on the algorithm you build for yourself. It depends on what you choose to look at, who you allow yourself to talk to, the media you consume, and your absolute refusal to engage with the darkness.
It is a conceptually rigorous and very demanding path. But it leaves us with a final thought to ponder, something that pushes against the very boundaries of this pursuit of perfect inner peace.
Oh, I like a good final thought.
If we successfully implement this extreme cognitive diet, if we completely filter out the ugly, the pessimistic, and the sorrowful parts of human nature to achieve our own personal utopia, do we risk losing the empathy required to actually connect with humanity?
That's a great point.
Empathy often requires us to sit in the darkness with someone else. So does achieving absolute perfect inner peace inevitably require us to ignore the cries of the outside world?
Yeah. That is the ultimate tension, isn't it? Choosing between the young woman and the old woman in the illusion.
Mm-hmm.
The universe offers both, but you can only inhabit one reality at a time. You have to choose your focus wisely. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today. We hope it gave you a new lens through which to view your own world. Until next time.